Hey guys, Celeste from the future here to add some quick contextual notes. As many of you know, there's a genocide occurring in Palestine at the behest of the nation of Israel. That being said, since I recorded this episode, several of the cast members of Stranger Things came out in support of Israel, outing themselves as Zionists. Here at Astrophic, we do not support colonization or imperialism, and those efforts include boycotting. While I cannot reverse time to undo the creation of these episodes, I hope you can understand the simple fact that the only reason I'm posting episodes on characters from Stranger Things still is because they were already recorded. I had written episodes for most of the characters, but due to this turn of events, I will be trashing the rest of those scripts. I'll be replacing all of the Stranger Things episodes that weren't recorded yet with characters from the Hunger Games. Every Stranger Things focused episode from this point on will also have this message playing before it. Additionally, if you'd like to see how you can help the people of Palestine, please see the resources in my link tree in the show notes. From the land to the sea, Palestine will be free. And remember, we're not free until everyone is. Take care of each other. Thank you, and enjoy the episode. Yeah, so this week we're talking about Max Mayfield from Stranger Things. She is best girl, don't you think? Like, the way running up that hill just took over, her acting in that scene, phenomenal. Sadie Sink is a powerhouse, and I personally am deeply in love with her. I'm just kidding. Am I? Maybe. So yeah, she's just like amazing. Max Mayfield is one of the best characters to grace the screen of Stranger Things, and I just really love how Stranger Things took all of these children and made them into worldwide phenomena. I know that that's like super damaging long term and can inflict a lot of trauma, but the ones who want this life are really fucking showing out for it, you know? And I really respect the ones who have chosen to like go back to school and to like take a hiatus on acting and stuff like that. I think that's really, they're all making very smart career choices for themselves. Okay. So as of recording this episode, it is Saturday, August 19th. Just to like, I don't know why I gave you guys a date. I didn't need to do that. Since I recorded the last episode, which has been a couple weeks, I think. I feel pretty good. I feel like I've been pretty productive. I'm back on my tarot grind. By the way, if you're interested, I sell tarot readings on Etsy. Please purchase, leave a review. I would love you forever. Let's get on with the episode. Okay, so starting off, big three always. Sun first. I think that we all fan cast Max as an Aries. And I, for one, intend to continue this propaganda because I I think she was an Aries. Sorry, not sorry. She just has such strong energy all the time. Even when she is in the throes of depression, she stands up for herself and, sets boundaries. They're not good, like positive boundaries, she's like very much closing herself off and isolating herself due to her trauma, but it's called for. It makes sense. But she's very strong-headed about it all. She breaks up with Lucas, all of that stuff. You know what? Let me not speak on that yet, actually. Let me save it for when we circle back around to this placement. Let's go to the Gemini moon, all right? Listen, Gemini, love them so much. Gemini moons, you guys, you don't scare me. You don't unsettle me or anything. Like, there's no negativity, but you're just a little bit off. And maybe I can see it because I also have an air moon, so I am also just a little bit off. But I just think that Gemini moons, I feel like they can naturally have a lot of depth to their emotions, and that, for Max, scares her. That makes her uneasy. She tries to hide it as well as she can all the time, but she's quite sensitive and she has a lot of feelings, and Gemini moons don't like to, I think what it is that they don't like to, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't like to like sit or like brew in an emotion for too long. They're like, okay, great, I feel it, can we move on? And when things like trauma are holding you back from moving on, it can make a Gemini moon very antsy and act not like themselves. Yeah, okay. We'll talk more when we circle back, because the house placement is also very interesting. And if you know astrology, you might be able to calculate the house placement, because I use whole sign on this podcast. You might be able to calculate the house placement based on what I say next, which is her rising sign. She's a Scorpio Mars. She's Mars ruled. She's an Aries sun. Like, the Martian energy is strong with this one. Okay? At least that's how I personally feel. But I think that she is a Martian through and through. All right? I don't believe that I have recorded Lucas's episode yet, but just know that, like, she's a Martian, Mars ruled all the way down, and Lucas is the sun. Okay? And when his episode comes out, you will understand why. As a Scorpio rising, she's a little cynical, a little jaded. You know, this is where a lot of the depth of her like personality and emotions can come from. And the Gemini moon is like, whoa, you're scaring the hoes. But also, like, at the same time, Aries sun is sitting there like, do I look like I give a fuck? Do your little thing, Scorpio. Because, you know, they're both the Mars ruled sign, Aries and Scorpio, in traditional astrology, so they gotta have each other's backs like that. I think that as a Scorpio rising, this is just my little, like, astrology isn't everything. Astrology is in everything. I want to make clear what I said. Astrology is in everything. All right. I think that because as a Scorpio rising, she's very well acquainted with like depth and like strangeness and trauma and stuff like that. I think that all of that experience, we know Max hasn't had a great life. So all of that experience with unhealthy, traumatic, abusive situations in the past is a little bit of what helped, not a little bit, a lot of what helped her fight off Vecna in season 4. Like, yes, also it's like her love for her friends. Friendship is magic. We love. But it, you know, she does have a lot of independence and a lot of self-reliance. And I think that if it was anyone else up there other than like her, Will, and 11, I think if it was, I think Lucas could have stood his own too, and maybe Erica. But I think if it was like Nancy, Steve, Robin, Eddie, Dustin, Mike, I think they all would have folded like a lawn chair. they would not have made it out of there, buddy. And like there's also, you know, there's like the kind of thing of like, oh my god, like Max is the zoomer, like she's the zoomer of the party, so of course when she needs to run, she's the one who makes it out. I think that if you have experience, if the characters had experience with significant pain in their lives prior to whatever it is that Vecna is drawing from. So for Max, it's Billy's death. I think that pain prior to that, deep pain, could make it easier to fight Vecna off. He does pick on people who have like long-term trauma, but like Max she has moment, because she's a main character, she has moments we see where her life is good, and so there's like little spells between significantly traumatic events, and those little spells of happiness remind her life can be good, I can be happy, I don't need to sit in this pain and rot, even though in season 4 that's ultimately what she chooses to do, is sit in the pain. And it's, you know, it's from guilt. If she did not feel guilty about Billy's death, she probably wouldn't sit in the pain of it, but because she feels responsible and she's just a child, she chooses to sit in it and refuse help because she feels like causing herself pain will atone for what she did to Billy. All right, so that was a lot for her rising. I didn't need to go that in depth, but I did. So we're gonna move on, and we're gonna start going in order of the houses. So let's move on to the second house, because there are no other placements in Scorpio first house. There's 2 placements here. Let's start with the one closest. So Jupiter I put in her second house, which is in Sagittarius. I think that also Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so this placement is domicile. It's a lovely placement for sure. I think that this placement is indicative of how her stepdad was able to provide well for her and her mom. But like Jupiter is not the planet of consistency. Okay. So like, yes, they had that. Yes, Jupiter expanded their stability and like their financial, what should I call that? Their financial adversities. Like Jupiter took care of all that. Jupiter made sure that, you know, Max had at least the bare minimums and, you know, sometimes a little bit more. But Jupiter, again, not known for consistency and known to sometimes bring unintended consequences with its blessings. So I think that this placement in her second house, you know, her stepdad's able to provide for her and her mom, but the situation was volatile and it tended towards extreme highs and extreme lows. A lot of extreme lows for sure. It, you know, Jupiter can be too much after all. Like sometimes it can be too much. It's the biggest planet in our solar system, you know. I don't want to say that it can be like too much, but it can be more than we can handle. You know what I mean? Jupiter is itself never too much, just like people are never too much, but sometimes it can be a lot to handle moment to moment. In Sagittarius, you know, Max does a lot better with more freedom in her home life. So like that's why she still kind of thrived, even though her stepdad and Billy were like hella abusive, because the instability made it so that she could take advantage of that situation and twist it and use it to her own benefit. It's still, a little bit of the Scorpio rising influence still. She's got to manipulate the situation. She also has a Scorpio rising. Scorpios are constantly reinventing themselves and going through ego deaths and whatever. So I think that she also thrives a little bit with just a little bit of instability. I just said all that. I don't need to say it again. Let's move on. Here we go. This next placement, I'm kind of wild for this one. I don't think I actually did. I think I took the year that I think Max would have been born in, and then picked a random day in Aries season and got all of the generational planets from that. So let's see. She has her Neptune in Sagittarius in the second house. She can imagine her life being anything, and she thinks that she can have anything. Life can always be improved, and so she may never be satisfied with what she has in her life. I think that her circumstances might make it so that she's satisfied with very little. The past childhood trauma and abuse could make it so that she's satisfied with very little, and is satisfied with her imaginations of the future. But there's a chance that she will always dream of how things could be better. This placement also exacerbates her need for freedom. This is a very idyllic placement. It feels so beautiful. This placement feels like a meadow in a Studio Ghibli movie. You know what I mean? This is what that placement feels like. And if you can envision that, I think I don't need to say any more. I don't think I need to say anything else about that, because if you can envision that, that's all you need. Let's move on to her third house. She only has one placement here, and oh my god, it's her ruling placement. It's Mars in Capricorn in the third house. Put a tally on the fucking board. I was gonna give Max the same Mars sign as me. I was gonna give her something. She's got a little bit of Scorpio in there too as her rising sign, but me and her I was gonna go down swinging trying to give her something that I have. And it's Capricorn Mars. It's Capricorn Mars, and it's in the third house. This is why she's so firm with her boundaries, and why her boundaries can be so self-destructive. Mars just wants to do something. It doesn't really give a fuck what's happening after. It just wants to get up and do something, it just wants to take action. In Capricorn, it's a little bit more calculated, Mars in Capricorn is willing to sit back a little and wait it out and just see what the best course of action for what they want is. It's a delicate balance, but they're also relatively quick to act. They can assess a situation quite well. This placement, Mars in Capricorn, is an exaltation. So Mars's babies are Scorpio and Aries, but Mars's adopted baby is Capricorn. Capricorn is the kid who came to Mars's house growing up a lot and was like, hey. And Mars was just like, yeah, you know what? You're friends with my kids. You're also my son. I also think that Max had to have some Capricorn. Something about her is so Aries, Scorpio, Capricorn. Like those three signs just are very Max. Fixed signs, cardinal signs. I think those all could fit Max very well, but she does feel like a mixture, you know? When her mind is set on something, it's unlikely that she's going to give it up easily. And it is unlike her to give up on things. That's why Lucas is so like thrown back when she just breaks up with him for like no reason really. And why she just like stops hanging out, stops reaching out. To my knowledge, I don't recall her ever talking to Elle after Elle and Will moved to California. So all of that is very out of character for her. That's how you know she's going through it, because her ruling placement is not giving what it's supposed to be giving. Or rather, it's giving in the opposite direction and is super hellbent on being as self-destructive as possible. But you know, she's quick-witted, she is clever, and she is quick to act and, you know, decisive about her actions. She rarely is like overthinking about the ways she could do things. You know, she was just like, I see a weak spot, let me rip out this dude's throat and run away. She's not getting kidnapped. For sure. Okay. Next house is the 4th house. I believe there's only one placement. We have her Venus in Aquarius. I have not recorded Nancy's episode yet, but just know they've got some similar energy going on here. I think they do. I think Max and Nancy are more similar than people would initially think. So I think that this placement is similar to Nancy. However, when Max is going through a tough time, her family is the first sector that she detaches from. Removes her, you know, supposed to be built-in lifelong support system. Really, it's really that like, I can go it alone. This is really hard actually, and I can just shoulder this alone and I don't need to worry anybody, is kind of like the vibes. I think that Max is generally very loyal. She might not be able to express her feelings quite often. All of her placements kind of just make up a one person who is like an action speaks louder than words person, but like for real. You know, people always say that, but like Max is like actually down for that life, you know? She actually walks the walk. And does not talk the talk because she would rather walk the walk. She loves the people that she loves very dearly, and if you are like family to her, you aren't just quote unquote like family. You are family, and she will ride or die for you like family, and she will protect you like family. That also means that when she thinks of you as family, she's also not going to tell you shit about what's going on with her. You know, sorry, just quirky air moon and Venus sign things. We just don't talk about shit. Yeah, so but like in spite of all of that, she loves people very deeply and intimately, and she can get obsessed with people that she loves. She like snuck out frequently to hang out with Lucas and the others. She helped Elle sneak out so that they could go to the mall. She loves her friends very dearly, and it's very obvious because she does things that shows them that she loves them. She loves them in her way, you know, helping someone to sneak out. You know, some people might say that's not love, but to Max, that is love. It's normal. They're gonna sneak out. They're teenage girls. Let them do what they're gonna do. Okay, I love that placement. I do enjoy a Venus in Aquarius. I think people are a little too harsh. So let's see. There are no placements in the 5th house, which brings us, lo and behold, to the 6th house in Aries. Let's start with the other placement. Let's start with the other placement and then go to the sun. So she has her Chiron in Aries in the 6th house. Listen, we've talked a lot about it. She has trauma. She has trauma, and it is embedded in her daily life. She was abused by her stepbrother and her stepfather. She was kind of forced into therapy based on her behavior after the death of her stepbrother. This placement also places a restriction on her ability to communicate these troubles with those around her, even though it's obvious she's having a hard time. So this contributes to the whole I'm gonna go it alone thing. The 6th house is very personal. It's your schedule, your health, your physical being, your medical stuff, your daily routine, all things that are yours and yours alone, because they all have to do with your specific life. So with Chiron here, it makes her want to shadow that, hide that a little bit more. Not healthy, of course. I say as I do the same thing. Yeah, and like her son is here, and so it's not easy for her to hide things because she doesn't do a good job at it. It's just like the easiest course of action for her to take. It's the behavior she is most comfortable with. All right, she also has her son here. Ego in the 6th house can sometimes be larger than life, depending on the sign that it's in. And in Aries, this is kind of true. That Martian energy in the 6th house, she's so aggressive and like straightforward in her everyday life. She truly does not give a fuck about what other people think and societal standards. She, like, some people might think, oh, Max dated a black boy to rebel against her racist family. That's not true. She does love Lucas. However, was it a happy accident? A happy side effect for her? Maybe. Did she give a fuck that Billy reacted violently towards her and Lucas? Yes, in the sense that she didn't want them to get hurt, but like, no, in the sense that she would not stop seeing him. She didn't want them to get beaten up by her 17-year-old stepbrother. She just wanted to date this boy and see him. That's all. And you know what? She did that. And now her stepbrother's dead. And she feels kind of bad about it, but I don't think she should. He sucked. He sucked really bad. That's all I have to say on that. Let's move on to the 7th house, Slay, because this is in Taurus. All right, she has 2 placements in the 7th house of Taurus. First placement, Mercury. She is so fucking stubborn. Some may even say hard-headed. A lot of her thinking and communication is geared towards those she loves in her life. So when she withdraws, it's a huge red flag. This is another placement where it's like, okay, you are unwell. Where like it makes it obvious that like you are not doing well. It makes it obvious that like you are not doing well and you need help, but you will not let me help you because she's stubborn, hard-headed. Taurus, 7th house, Mercury's okay in Taurus. It's just, it vibes, The real big placement here is, well, not the real big placement. Like Mercury is obviously very important as part of the big 6. But as I am an Aquarius rising and moon, I think a lot about Saturn. So I think it's always the most important sign in a birth chart. And that's not true. That's simply not true. Honestly, we've already talked about her most important sign, which is her Mars. But to me, Saturn matters a lot. All right. First of all, put another fucking tally on the board. I also have a Saturn in Taurus. Okay. Whatever. In the 7th house, Saturn puts restriction and discipline in the relationships that she forms with others. She might get very like into a routine that is revolving around other people. She can be kind of like hot and cold with people, but she's always true to her word and supportive of those that she has like long-standing impactful relationships with. She'll always choose to do what's best for others rather than what's best for herself. Like this is a self-sabotage thing, but she breaks up with Lucas. Lucas gets super popular. She stays depressed and isolated. Do you think that Lucas would have been as popular as he was if he was dating the like local depressed chick? She had no friends. She ate alone. She just listened to music everywhere. You know, like that does something to an image. Did she break up with Lucas for him? No. She did it for herself. She had selfish motives because she wanted to isolate herself. But, you know, in the end, in some way, I do believe it helps Lucas. So we can move on to the 8th house in Gemini, which is where her moon is. This is why she like tries to hide her feelings so bad. This is why the Gemini moon can tap into such a depth of emotion. It's crazy. She is very sensitive and highly intuitive, and that does not make her feel good. She's has so much Martian energy, she can't deal with like intangible stuff. What the fuck? But as like she gets hurt more and more, she finds it more difficult to keep this like mask of invulnerability up. And in the 8th house, it's gonna make her deal with it. And guess what it did in season 4? I mean, she's still gonna be dealing with it, but like that's when it started. That's when she started dealing with it for sure. And by it, I mean the fact that she puts a mask up and hides her true feelings from everybody all the time, until she basically can't take it anymore. Let's see now. She has no placements in the 9th house, which would be in Cancer, and no placements in the 10th house, which would be in Leo. However, she does have one placement in the 11th house and one placement in the 12th house, and those will be our last 2 placements. So first up, we have Pluto in the 11th house of Virgo. She is very meticulous about the people that she allows into her life. So it's really hard to get close to her. She's very closed off. This is the placement that makes her so closed off. Like, it's not just that in 8th house Gemini, she's like super scared of letting people know her feelings. But it also, there's something in this house about her moving around quite a bit and never being able to get close to people due to the way her life is being controlled by outside forces. That's Pluto. Pluto is the outside forces that is controlling her life. The 11th house is social groups, social situations, friends, social circles. It's just the house of like large groups of people coming together, including like friend circles. And so with Pluto here, Pluto is, the house of destruction, rebirth, transformation. You can't control Pluto. Pluto controls you. And it is very long term with its goal, with its plan. So yeah, this placement is like, it's not fun. It's not a fun placement. Nobody would say that. It is calculated though. There are, she's a very action oriented person, but there are parts of her chart that are like cunning and calculating. And I think that does really describe her very well. All right. Last placement of the episode, Libra 12th house. We've got Uranus. There's something about the 12th house always to me is upside down. But something about this placement specifically is giving Vecna. It's giving all upside down. It's giving all the fact that her life is utterly and irreparably altered due to her contact with it. Uranus is the planet of sudden change. Stuff that just rocks your world, knocks your socks off. And in Libra, there is a delicate balancing act that is supposed to happen here. Uranus is not about being fair. Uranus is just here to move shit around, put shit out of place, out of order, and then leave and forget about it. It's just gonna do that. But like Libra's gonna make sure that these things don't fuck with your life too badly. Sometimes some people can have a Uranus placement or even a Pluto placement that's like, fuck, dude, no wonder you can't get on your feet. This sucks. This one is a little give. Well, it's mostly take and very little give. There's also something in this placement about her being the last one Vecna needed, but not dying and therefore creating a wrinkle in his plans. And the fact that she didn't die because two people loved her more than almost anyone else in the entire world and their love was used to bring her back, that is literally so cute. Libra is Venus ruled traditionally. So like, that is so slay. That is so cute. The power of love and friendship, you guys, it rules over everything. And Max is just like living proof of that, I think, personally. All right, that brings us to the end of the episode. As a reminder, you can find everything related to Astrophic and me in the link tree in the show notes, including my Etsy shop where I sell tarot readings, as I mentioned at the top of the episode. And if you have something you'd really like to add to the conversation, I'd love it if you left a voice note. They're about a minute long, and who knows, maybe I'll include your note in a future episode. Don't forget to leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and tell your friends about me. You've been listening to Astrophic, your favorite astrology podcast, hosted by me, Celeste V. Don't forget to leave a rating and review, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Love you. Bye.